sawyers in it. And what it does is it allows you to, your big saw on your head rig, as it's running, you know, it can get a little bit of a wobble in it because of the heat and the work that it's going through. And you take it off, and there's a contraption, you set it up on there, and I don't know, you run it round and round and mark all your high spots, and then you come back with a hammer on this anvil and hammer it back out flat to true. So this right here has got, it's got a lot of history in it. I mean, there's all kind of
things you can put,
things that you can use to stretch your steel and all kind. That's why I have so many hammers, because different faced hammers move steel different ways. It's kind of like the dies on that press. Yeah. You got round dies.
Round ones are the ones that stretch, right?
Well, round ones don't stretch. Round ones is what sets you up for the stretch. You got your steel is flat, and you take the two round dies, one on top and the bottom, and when you're making your impressions, you're creating highs and lows. All right, so what you do then is you bring it back to the forge, get it hot, bring it back to either your power hammer or your press or here at the anvil, and then you start hammering flat. And it brings those highs and lows together, which makes it, you know, it's kind of like Play-Doh. You roll up some Play-Doh and you put little indentions in it, and then you mash it flat, you know. It's the same concept. But yeah, you got different shaped hammerheads to move the steel different ways, just like with the power hammer and the press. It's a pretty cool process. I mean, when I first started years ago, all I had was this little thing, and eventually I'm just going to have to put a handle on it and this one. I don't know if y'all noticed, I kept the heads are wanting to come off, but the handles are in bad shape. My wife got that one for me. This was my granddaddy's. So I'm gonna ride this one till it just falls apart in my hand. But then I'm gonna put it on the knife. Bringing it up to a certain temperature. We do that 3 times. After all the hammering we did, we kind of mangled everything up inside that steel. So what we're doing now is we're heating it up, bringing it to that temp, and letting everything spread out, and get ready for the next step of the process. We'll clean it up, kind of clean the bevels up a bit. I hammered it pretty thin, so I'm not going to clean it much because I don't want to warp. But normalizing it now will allow us to not have to do all that when we get ready to quench it. So that's where we're at now. This is one of the boring parts of the process. It's a sit here and wait kind of thing. So we got one more cycle, then we're going to turn the forge off, let it cool off so we get our hands on it, then we'll start doing it up.
Do this too? Or
No.
But that was his hammer.
It was his hammer. No, he grew up sawmilling. That's what he did, sawmilling. So
That's what that's.
yeah, this anvil right here come from the old sawmill at Luckey Town Customs, where the name comes from Hubert Luckey Sawmill. This is a sawyer's anvil. It's old.
So that's what they used at the sawmill.
Yep, this was used at our sawmill when it was in operation, and long before I was even born. So it's an older anvil. But I promise I never had any intentions of going, and
He said he wouldn't go, and
I mean,
people, like going on game shows and stuff. You send an application in to go on Wheel of Fortune or Price is Right. You gotta try and try and try. He's like, well, if they invite me, I'll go.
yeah.
Hey, this is such and such with Fortune Fire.
Yeah.
We want you to come compete.
Yeah, I mean, I would have I never would have applied had they not contacted me and asked me to, if I'd be interested in it. And,
They said it was a guy thing.
I believe every bit of it was, and I felt bad for winning as much as I felt good for winning, because I hate to see somebody else lose.
And then you got a ball bearer, wasn't it a ball bearer?
Yeah, it was that big around.
Yeah.
I had to make a knife out of that. I had under an hour and a half to make, after I got the key built and the lock unlocked, I had an hour and a half from that point.
You spent half your time getting the lock, making the key and getting the lock open, didn't you?
And then I spent 30 minutes waiting on that ball bearing that was that big around to get hot enough to even begin moving, so that I could then cut some of it off and not have so much steel. Because that's what a lot of folks don't realize. I can take a ball bearing that big around and make two blades out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in how you stretch it, And so yeah, I built a knife in about 45 minutes to an hour. There was no reason, honestly, no reason that should have happened, because a ball bearing that big around, that's solid. You know how just because the outside of it looks screaming hot doesn't mean that it's that hot all the way through, right? And when I tell you that when I make Damascus, when I do layered Damascus, I start, anywhere from 10 to 15, 17 layers. I'll let it soak in the forge for at least 30 minutes before I ever start trying to press it, because I want it to be hot throughout entirely. So and that's with a stack of steel that big. I had a ball bearing this size, and there's no reason it should have been hot enough to move. And I said, good Lord, that's all I can say.